Hello, I'm Bob Ganzak, and welcome to MotivationU the Podcast. Welcome to MotivationU the Podcast. I'm Bob Ganzak, and I'm honored today and very thankful and humbled that I have this guest who is just iconic in my world, in our world. We're going to talk about leadership and some football. Welcome to the show, Coach Steve Spurrier.
Good to be with you, Bob.
It's fantastic to have you here, and it was sharing. I hope we can generate some of those stories that we were talking about before the camera hit. But, Coach, growing up, who were some of the individuals that really, when you were a child, that really shaped your leadership style as you got into that?
Oh, I would think my father was a very competitive preacher. We moved around, never did he have a big church. We had one in Athens, Tennessee, and then Newport, Tennessee. And then when I was in the 6th grade, we moved to Johnson City, which was a big city in Tennessee, I think about the 6th largest of 30,000. But it was, we could play high school sports at the highest level. But my dad, he coached Little League Baseball. He always thought I should have been a baseball player. Even after we won a national championship in football one time, he said, "Do you think maybe you should have gone baseball?" And I said, "No, Dad, I think it worked out, this football route." But anyway, he was just an ultimate competitor, and he just believed that if you're keeping score, whatever you do in life, if you're keeping score, you're supposed to try your best to win the game. Mm-hmm. And I've been accused of, as a pro coach, you have these preseason exhibition games. I've been accused of trying to win those. You know that? And they said, "You're not supposed to try to win those." I said, "Well, we're keeping score." So anyway, his influence on my brother and I was like that. And, you know, just in the backyard playing 2-on-2 basketball or 1-on-1. I mean, we tried as hard as we could to beat the other guy. So it's just a habit. And as you know, as we all know, your habits in life, if you form good ones, then they'll take you the rest of the way.
Yeah. You mentioned baseball, you mentioned basketball, and you always had the ball in your hands. You were a pitcher, point guard, quarterback. What was it about that element that you wanted to take charge of that?
Well, first of all, I was blessed from above with some eye-hand coordination. I never could run very fast, and in fact, basketball and baseball were my best sports. You know, I could shoot a little bit better than most of the kids, and I guess pitching and playing shortstop came naturally. So my buddy said, why were you out for football? There's nothing you could do, because we didn't throw the ball until I got my junior year of high school. Coach put in some pass plays, and we started throwing the ball around a little bit, but I was the punter and place kicker some. So I said, well, I'm punting anyway. I get on the field a little bit. But really, my buddies, they did say, "Steve, you'll quit football when you get in high school because you're no good in it." And I said, well, I don't know. Maybe I just kept going out for each sport each year. And a lot of us up there, we played all three of them all the way through. And then when I got to college, I shifted off to just football.
And you had success in all three. Right? State championships in baseball and never lost a game in high school.
Much more success in baseball. And I don't know how we did it, but we just would seem to win.
Driving down here, I was thinking to myself that I was going to ask Coach, did you play shortstop when you weren't pitching?
Yeah.
And yes, you did. That's just part, because it's that quarterback of the infield at that time. It's amazing. So what made you decide on football when you went off to college? And did you have opportunities to play other sports in school also?
At college level, occasionally one of the coaches would say, yeah, you can play baseball here if you want to. In fact, Coach Graves told me that if I came to Florida, you can play baseball. And sort of, we just got through winning the state championship, so I sort of thought I may want to. But then when I got down here, spring football was going on. I said maybe I ought to get out for spring football if I want to play quarterback. So and once you get to college, it's difficult to play two sports.
Mm-hmm. And things were different back then. You couldn't play as a freshman back when you came into college for the the big team. You had to play what they only played.
Well, we had a freshman football team.
Okay, how many games did you play?
We played 4 games.
Okay.
Yeah, we played Miami, Auburn, FSU, and Georgia. So we were 3-1, by the way. I can remember that. We lost at Miami. I don't know what it is about Miami, but when I was in college, we lost a game down there. But anyway, we had a good freshman team, and almost all those guys, we went 4 years together here.
Wow. Well, after you were done playing, when was it that you realized that you could make an impact on people's lives by getting into the coaching business, and how did you get into that?
Well, Bob, after my days were over, fortunately, I got 10 years in NFL, probably 8 of them as a backup quarterback, which I tell everybody is the best job in pro football. You don't get hit, you don't get beat up. When the game's over, fellas, where are we going to have dinner tonight? Where's the party? And they're getting ice on their shoulders and necks, and they're all beat up. But anyway, I did play 2 years. 1972, I got to play a whole bunch with the 49ers, and then I played my last one with the Tampa Bay Bucks. But so anyway, the next year, I'm here in Gainesville. Everybody, Steve, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I said, well, I know I got to find a job, because back then we didn't make much money playing pro football. So I'm sitting up in the stands watching the Gators play, and I started thinking maybe I could be pretty good at coaching. I'd been around some good coaches, Bob, and some lousy coaches. Okay. Those lousy coaches are underneath their breath, they're cussing their guys and this, that, and the other, or maybe they have no ball plays that are worth a dang. And the good coaches, they're trying to pump guys up and give them something they got a chance to be successful with. So I just said, I think maybe I could be a pretty good coach. I don't know. So Coach Sticky hired me at Florida the next year, and we all got fired, and I was out for a month. Nobody was looking for me. And Pepper Rogers at Georgia Tech, his quarterback coach left to go take another job somewhere, and he called down and said, you still want to coach? I said, yes, sir, I'd love to. So we go up there, and he actually let me call the plays the last 4 games of the season, and then he got fired. Wow. And anyway, Duke University was looking for an offensive coordinator, and anyway, their coach called. I went up, or I called him. I called up there to see if they'd hired anybody, and he said, no, you want to interview? So I came up and interviewed and got hired. So that's why I love Duke University. I have no job today. They hired me twice when I had no job. And so I love Duke University. My son went there and graduated. Now I got a grandson up there, Gavin or Spurrier. He's a walk-on the football team. I wish they'd let him play some, because I think he might could play a little better than the other guys, but that's another story.
14 grandkids, right?
14. Mm-hmm.
What type of philosophies do you share with them? I'm sure there's some coaching that goes on. And
well, they're very competitive just naturally, because my son is. And one of my grandsons runs track and cross country. He's a distance runner. And then Gavin's a quarterback. And Emmeline is a cheerleader here in Florida. And I think she's made a 4.0 every semester she's been here. So they're doing all very well. And then the rest of them are, down the line a little bit. And 2 older grandsons are out in the business world and doing well. So, yeah, proud of all of them.
So that philosophy is working through, and they're all achieving, and that competitiveness that's in there. When you went to Duke, there was they weren't a football school. They were a basketball school. How did you get that turnaround, the mentality side of it, to instill in them that they could compete?
Well, basically, we had to win enough games to keep our job. You know, if you go to Duke, usually every 4th year they change coaches. That's what everybody told me. Steve, you can't win at Duke. You can't go there. Go somewhere where they can win. And if you want to be a coach nowadays, you know, go work for Nick Saban or somebody like Exeter, because you know you're going to win, and then you get other jobs. And I said, well, the only problem, none of the other schools are asking me to come coach. This is my one chance in life, is Duke University. And we did have some good players in the early 80s and then the latter 80s when I came back as the head coach. We had a lot of good players, and they just had to mentally believe we're just as good as the other guy. And the 89 season at Duke was still one of the most special years of my 31 years of coaching, because we started the season 1-3. Now we lost on the road to 3 pretty good teams, and we had Clemson coming to town. They were 4-0, number 7 in the nation, and we made some changes, made a lot of changes, and had a little rah-rah, and we were going to give them all we had. And some things happened in the game that we're down 14-0 at half. And the third quarter, we had a third and about 30. We're down 14-0. And we call this pass where everybody's going deep, you know, 4 guys deep, throw it down there, hope something will happen, 3rd and 30. Well, the week before, I messed up and told the other guys, outside guys, run comebacks. Well, the guy ran a comeback, but our quarterback thought he was going deep. That's my mistake. And so he throws a beautiful pass about 55, 60 yards. The Clemson guy is the only guy there. So he picks it off, and he retreats about 5 or 10 yards, gets to the middle of the field, decides to go back the other way and change the ball, dropped the ball on his 20-yard line. And I can still see Darrell Clements, our wide receiver, diving on it. So we get it on about their 20, go down there and run off tackle and knock it in the end zone. That's 14-7, and the momentum just came with us. And we scored on a drive late in the game. It was 3rd and 7 on the goal line, and they had messed up their defense the time before, and our back just sort of came out of the backfield, was standing on the goal line, and our quarterback hit him. And we held on for that. And I still remember Clemson had about a 4th and 10, and they'd used their last time out. And our linebacker, George Edwards, came over to the sideline and said, what coverage you want, Coach? And I'm asking him. I said, what do you think? You think we ought to play 5 short, 3 deep, and cover the first down line? And he said, Coach, we have been blitzing every play all day. Why would we change now? And I said, you know what? You're exactly right. That's why. So we blitzed them, and the ball hit the ground, and we won the game. But that was one thing I always tried to do, listen to your players. Let them take ownership of the team. And after we had that huge upset, we won the rest of them. Won 7 games in a row, and the Florida job opened the next year. So that's why I got the Florida job, because we won at Duke. If we don't win at Duke, I'd never been here.
You know, in the Dale Carnegie world that I work in, we have the principle that says ask questions instead of giving direct orders, and that's basically what you were doing. Get that they're on the field playing, get their input, and the buy-in.
I love to let guys go play the game. Our punter here, Shane Edge, in the SEC championship game of '92, he actually took off on his own and didn't make it against Alabama. And then the next year, in '93, he took off on his own and made it that year. And then the next play, we hit Jack Jackson on about a 50-yard touchdown from Terry Dean that turned the whole game around. So, you know, somebody said, did you get on him for faking that punt and he didn't make it? I said, no. I said, he thought he could make it. He was trying to make a play to help win the game. So, and then the next year he did. So now I just, so often I let the players, Coach, I think we can do this. I said, let's go with it. Yeah.
You remember people's names. I mean, there are some business leaders that don't remember any of their employees' names. How do you do that? I mean, every one of you just bring them right out of the sky. Just boom, you remember them.
Well, I certainly used to know all the players, because you're with them all year round. And then, of course, most of them you've recruited, so you've known them actually if they come or don't come. And so, yeah, it was sort of interesting. My first year back here at Florida, during homecoming, they have what they call Gator Growl. It's the night before the game. And the football coach brings all of his seniors out. walk-ons and all of them. And I guess they told me in the past that the coach had a list and had to read them off. Well, I didn't ever have a list because I knew all the walk-ons and all the guys that were seniors. And somebody said, how do you know everybody's name? And I said, well, I see him every day in practice. Why wouldn't I know his name? But yeah, that's, during practice, all the guys are in line doing the stretches right before. I always encourage coaches, walk around and talk to everybody. Talk to everybody, not only just your players, but players, at all the other positions. Because to be successful as a team, and yourself, Bob, everybody on the team's got to love each other. And the coaches got to love each other, and the coaches got to love other coaches. And I went a step further. Coaches' wives have got to love all the other wives too. We don't want bickering and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, we got to all be together. There was a saying: if you're going to arrive at the top, you all got to arrive together, or you're not going to arrive at all. So we tried to do that.
So we have a question from Facebook, and I was going to ask that question anyways. You've taken good care of your health. Part of that intentional life. You work out every day, is what I've been told. And
most days.
Most
not
days.
Every, but, yeah.
And the USFL is coming back next year. Is there a chance that we're going to see a coach with a visor on the sidelines calling a lot of pass plays?
Well, you got to be asked first, Bob. But no, I've said if they come back and there's a team in Tampa or Orlando, that would be easy. That's only a 3 to 4 month job. And the Alliance of American Football in 2019 had a team in Orlando, and I coached it. We were 7-1, and we were declared. It went busted, like most of them do, I guess. But we were declared the champion by FanDuel, the online betting site out of Vegas. They declared us the champ. So, yeah, I've told people I could do that. I could do that for 4 months. Yeah.
I was reading last night. I saw that Tampa team is coming back, and they may also have the Jacksonville team coming back, but I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. No one's heard from anybody, and I'm not approaching them. But if somebody said, "Well, you want to go coach for 3 or 4 months?" Yeah, I'm not going to go to Detroit or up north anywhere. But if it's in Florida, I could do that. I could do that easily. Yeah.
Coach, we talked about turnarounds. Is it tougher to get a team back to the top or to keep them there? What is? I mean, you've had that ability, like it's South Carolina. You just school that didn't win, and you won year after year after year.
What's the most difficult? I would say probably getting there. But Bob, if you look at most colleges all over the country, really, those that have great tradition. Tradition seems to repeat itself most of the time, unless you let it get away. And Tennessee and FSU are 2 teams that were the best on our schedule. Yeah. And both of them right now are not very good, I guess is the word. So it's, I mean, you got to work to maintain also. And but getting there or maintaining, I'm not sure which is, it's a little of both.
A little bit
of both, I think.
You mentioned Tennessee, Phil Fulmer. What was, I mean, the man went 45-5 over 3-year stretch.
He sure did.
Only lost 3 SEC games, all to one coach.
All to the Gators.
What was that? What was that hold that? Some teams just don't think they can beat some teams. You know?
I don't know if it was that exactly, but they did not play their best when they played us during that streak right there. In fact, Peerless Price was at the SEC Legend Dinner, I think 2017 or 18, and I was at that also. And he said, "Coach, we only lost 3 conference games while I was in his 4 years." I said, "Is that right?" And I started thinking, well, you know what? Maybe the football guys decided to smile on Tennessee because they had been that good, and then they didn't have much to show for it. So they had a big year, and of course the '98 year they won them all, and there was 4 or 5 games they could have lost easily, including ours, but they managed to pull them all out, and they got that one big year to remember.
Because I mean, Peyton Manning was there those years, and it's kind of nice to know as I talk to other Gator fans that Peyton still hasn't beaten Florida, which is.
Well, it just happened. They would fumble sometimes, and then the next year after he left, we fumbled going into the end zone. Our first 2 drives, we could have had them 14-0, but we had them 3-0, and it went into overtime, and the guy kicked about a 45-yarder. Our guy missed about a 20-yarder, and that's how you lose sometimes, and that's the way it goes. Yeah.
You've taken your philosophy. We can talk about the Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Now you've brought that to the corporate world. What are some of the similar teaching, coaching methods that you've brought to the business world now?
Well, first of all, I think we got an excellent management team. Freddie Wiebe has pretty much been the guy in charge of this project, and our owners and our partial owners and so forth. They all want to do it the right way and so forth. And we've researched restaurants that are successful and the ones that fail also. So we're committed to doing it the right way. We have a wonderful location out at Celebration Point, probably the busiest shopping center in Gainesville by far, right next to the interstate out here. So we got first-class service. The employees, we want all of them to feel as if, hey, we're all in this together, and camaraderie and fellowship amongst everyone that works there has to be real good. So we're looking forward to the grand opening August 11th, and we think we got a chance to really be successful, but most of all, the people to have fun and enjoy excellent food when they come to the restaurant also.
A little birdie told me, though, that the street that the restaurant is on is going to be changed soon?
That's what I heard. Phil Fulmer's got a street named after him up in Knoxville, I think after they won the national championship, but I've heard they may have one called Steve Spurrier Way, something like that. I like that. But that's no big deal one way or the other, but it will be the first street ever named after me.
Coach, we talk about employee engagement in the business world. It's been a buzzword for about 10 years, 12 years now. And when I hear about players from 25, 30 years ago sending you their trophies and things to put into your museum, that's employee engagement to me. I mean, those individuals are paying back. How do you build that chemistry, and how can corporate America build that chemistry?
Oh, I think the players are appreciative of playing for us here at Florida and at Duke. Clarkson Hines, who was the 1989 ACC Player of the Year, wide receiver. We're going to get his Player of the Year trophy down here, and we've got a little Duke section. Anthony Dilwig was a quarterback up there, was also Player of the Year in '88. And then a lot of our Florida guys, Eric Rett, running back, and of course Shane Matthews, Chris Doring, James Bates have given us one of their trophies to put in there. But I think those guys are just appreciative. And when I called Clarkson, he said, well, Coach, I would have never been the ACC Player of the Year and owned all the records. I mean, he owned all the records, NCAA for touchdown catches and all that, if you hadn't come up there and thrown the ball around like we did. So, yeah, those guys are appreciative, and certainly I'm very appreciative of them. And your trophies, I mean, you can put them in your closet at home, or but very few people get a chance to see them. Yeah. So it'll be on display at the restaurant.
It was good to see Judd Davis's.
Judd Davis, Lou Groza, Kicker of the Year. We'll be there also.
Play a lot of golf with him. When did you start playing golf?
Basically in college. Basically, when I got here, back in those days, there was no off-season football workout. Spring, we practiced a little bit in the spring, but there was a lot of time to play golf. So I started in the summertime here, and so it's a game you can pretty much play the rest of your life. But yeah, but I've enjoyed competing in golf, gosh, since I went to college, I guess.
It's a great sport to do that in. You've played at Augusta and.
I've been fortunate to play a whole bunch of places, and we've done the Scotland and the Ireland golf trips, and so forth. Pebble Beach has a little coaches tournament where the coach brings 3 people with him, and I've played in it about 15 times, it seems like. So yeah, there's a lot of chance to play the great courses in the nation.
That's fantastic. You brought up FSU a little while earlier, and we were talking about Coach Bowden beforehand. That interstate rivalry that you had, and what was that like to go through those years coaching the Florida State game?
Well, let's see. You know, when you set your goals, we didn't talk about goal setting, but I started doing that actually my last year at Duke in '89. And one of the players, after we said, you know, win 7, win 8, go to a bowl game. Duke hadn't been to a bowl game in 28 years, I think, and have a winning season. That was pretty much it. And one of them said, Coach, we think we win the ACC football championship. Our center, Bubba Metz, said that, and I said, setting goals, you got to have a chance to achieve it. He said, we got a chance, Coach. We got Clemson, NC State, and Georgia Tech at home. And I said, well, yeah. He said, we think we can do it. I said, don't tell anybody, but we're going to put it on the list. And lo and behold, it happened. Now, don't tell me we had the team to do it. But mentally, after we had that upset over Clemson, hey, it was still there because every team had at least one loss. So at worst, we could be co-champs. And but with that seed back there, we can be champs. They went and did it. Those guys, they got ready to play every game, and it was just amazing. So goal setting, and then when I got to Florida, we did our goal setting. Well, yeah, one of the goals was always to beat FSU, their in-state rival, just like our goal was to beat North Carolina up there. We got them all 3 years, but down here FSU was very good, as you know. And then after the SEC championship game started, well, we usually had that one right after them. So beating them was not the end of the world, and it was not top of the list on our goals. Top of the list was usually win the SEC. Win the SEC, yeah, if we had a team capable. And yeah, we wanted to beat them, and they were very good, and they beat us a few more times than we beat them. But the one that was for all the marbles, I know who won that one in the Sugar Bowl. So I guess we'll take losing more regular season games for that one big one in New Orleans.
And you had a chance to talk to Coach Bowden the other day?
Yeah, I did. As most people know, he's sort of on his deathbed, I think, right now. They don't know how much longer he'll last. But he had a list of people he wanted to talk to, and I was one of them. So that was very nice of Coach Bowden. We've become a lot better friends, I think, since our coaching days are over. And certainly admire everything he did there as a football coach. Second winningest coach of all time, Joe Paterno, another wonderful friend of mine years ago that was the leading winner percentage-wise. But yeah, Coach Bowden is a good person, and amazing record he had there. So a chance to say goodbye to him.
Yeah, that's great. Coach, when you came to the SEC to coach football, it was a running league. You changed the way, I at least tell people that the football we see today in the SEC was changed in 1990, when you came here.
Well, it was.
How did you get that vision across?
Well, now, I'm not the first guy to throw it. University of Miami was down here, and FSU was here, and they were throwing it around a lot better than SEC schools. So, well, I don't know. I mean, as a coach, I learned how to coach at Duke, and to win enough games there, our offensive guys, we had to carry the load. It wasn't run 3 and punt. Defense get the ball back for us. It may take a while. And our defense now, they played their hearts out, but we didn't have any guys going to the NFL or anything like that. So they just had to play as well as they could, but offensively we had to play wonderful. We had to go up and down the field and score touchdowns and to win. And if we didn't win, my coaching career is over. I'm selling insurance for a buddy of mine, Alan Trammell, down in Orlando, probably. And that didn't sound like fun to me. So I tried to coach my tail off to win at Duke, and we did.
That's fantastic. As we wrap up this portion of the show, the question I've always wanted to ask you is the little zingers, the one-liners. Do you think those up, or are they spontaneous? Because they
most of them somebody else gave it to me.
Okay.
Or something, And most all of them were in the off season, when sort of boring in the off season. Coach, they may get mad at that. I said, by the time we play in the regular season, they'll forget. I said, UT, Citrus Bowl, or something like that. And usually that was the case. The week of the game, Spurrier said, we're going back to the Citrus Bowl. Now, nobody said that. We're concentrating on trying to beat each other. Yeah. So I thought it was pretty harmless. Some people thought it was being arrogant or whatever. But actually, Bobby Bowden, when he went to his Seminole clubs, he would have some little zingers about the Gators, but that was just part of it. Nobody gave a dang, I guess. But if I'd say something like that, they thought you were being critical of the other team. Yeah. And really, it was just to make light of it. And I can assure you, whatever they said about me, I did not get mad about it. They say whatever they want to. It's in the off season. It wasn't going to help them win the game or help us win the game. So anyway, that was it for that.
Always, yeah. And it was nice that Texas gave us the opportunity to have another one recently with the, which was.
Yeah, I was with a group. We were talking about FSU, standing for Free Shoe University, because back in the late 90s, they had a player got some free Nike shoes down at the sporting goods store, and they got in a little trouble. Yeah. And I said, that's how they got that nickname, Free Shoe U. Their guys were getting free shoes. But it's just sort of funny now, and no big deal.
Well, I appreciate you joining us here today, and I look forward to spending some time at your restaurant, and we will be doing our podcast starting next week, I believe, Evan, from there, and wonderful. And look forward to seeing you around at the restaurant.
Wonderful.
And thank you very much,
Good
Coach.
to be with you, Bob.
Great to have you here.
All right.
We'll be back with Dr. Glenn Miller in just a couple of minutes.
Looking for more reasons to celebrate? We have them here at Celebration Point. Enjoy some of the newest additions to our already celebratory lineup, like Dave & Buster's, Le Macaron, and Prime and Pearl. There's always a reason to celebrate. Join us anytime for any occasion. Celebration Point, where Gators come to celebrate.
Oh my gosh, I can't even believe this. Look what you have done to my truck.
Excuse me, it's your fault, it's not my fault.
Yes, it is your fault. I am calling Jeffrey Meldon from Meldon Law.
So I'm gonna call Jeffrey, my husband.
Meldon Law, this is Jeffrey speaking.
Jeffrey! This crazy lady, he might...
New client? Yes, but this one might be a little tricky.
Hello, Bob Ganzak for the Dale Carnegie course. Because of the great strength that we've had in the last couple of classes here, we are having another Dale Carnegie class starting September 21st, Tuesday night, the 21st, from 6 until 9:30 at Hotel Indigo. It's one of those things that's going to change your life. It's going to really give you the tools where you can improve at business, in your relationships, just in your love of life. So you will be able to sign up at jacksonville.dalecarnegie.com, find courses, find the one that is for September 21st in Gainesville. Hotel Indigo, 6 to 9:30. 8 weeks in a row, incredible energy, atmosphere. You'll love it. Sign up today for the Dale Carnegie class. Thank you. Welcome back to MotivationU the Podcast. And we just finished up with Coach Spurrier, and I couldn't have anybody else to follow Coach Spurrier than you, Dr. Glenn Miller. Friend, we worked together in Dale Carnegie classes, and I'm so excited for you to share your story with our audience of perseverance and just living life to the fullest. Dr. Miller, tell us about where you are now and a little bit about your journey, and then we'll get into your journey to this point.
Well, Bob, thank you for letting me be here. It's just a pleasure to always be with you. Whenever you're at, I want to be a part of it. And I really has just kind of slowed down a little bit, and I have enjoyed a long career, 32 years in law enforcement, and I'm just enjoying right now the things that I forgot about that I really enjoyed, and just picking up a lot of good reading and a lot of good time with my family.
Relaxed.
And yes.
And building a house.
Yes, building a house.
It's been a challenge through the pandemic to...
Yeah. I figured out we started almost 3.5 years ago from drawing it on a piece of paper to where we're at now, and we're pretty much getting ready to close on it pretty soon.
You were 22 when you became a police officer with Atlantic Beach
Police Department. Mm-hmm.
Police Department.
Yeah.
What was the thought process going into that, and what were your goals as you were, looking at that?
Well, I was still very young at the time, and I was graduating from high school, getting ready to leave to go what I thought was going to play football and become a preacher.
Okay.
And that did not work out.
Yeah.
And so I was at home, and I did a couple things around Jacksonville area, and I saw something in the paper that says hiring police officers. And then the light went off. I go, that's it. That's what I've been wanting to do. Because before then, if you asked me to list 100 occupations that I wanted to do, a police officer would never been on it.
Wow.
So it was like a light bulb that went off. I go, yeah, that's what I'm supposed to do. And then I started looking into it, and that's how I became a police officer.
Spent 5 years there, and also started re-educating yourself, going back into the academic world, getting a degree. What spurred that thought? Was it down the road opportunities, or was it just something you wanted to do?
It was absolutely something I wanted to do, and I was frustrated with college at the point. I've been going to college, doing everything I'm supposed to do, and following the academic advisory, and then something gets changed up. Yeah. Very frustrating, and I go, man, I'm just tired of this. And a great mentor of mine, Marty Trauger, introduced me to an institution that was local, that's wonderful, and they'll take care of everything, and that's what I went for. I go, I'm doing it.
And never stopped.
Never stopped.
You and I worked together with the Dale Carnegie programs, the classes we have. We're your graduate assistant, and we've never actually worked together in a class, yet we work on the classes together, and we hear so many excuses. I don't have time to take that. I don't have time to do this. I can't invest in that. I can't. Yet, as a young man, you went to school, worked full-time, got married, raised a family, got a master's degree, went on and got a doctorate degree. Where did you find the time? And what was that incentive to do that?
Well, there's several things that occurred in my life. I knew that I loved what I did as an occupation. I love higher education. I just love that thing of trying to, what can I learn next, and being in front of other people that kind of are like-minded and that kind of wanted to do the same thing. And as I went from each level of education, it got greater, greater. More people we're becoming really one here of what I like to do and what I've enjoyed. And it's like having the family saying, yes, you can do this. So fortunately, I had the support of the family and the wife to continue this, because that went on her with taking care of the kids, and any other thing that I threw out, you know.
But you worked full time.
I worked
Through-
full time.
through-
Yep.
When you were going through school, was that part of the time that you were involved with the JSO SWAT team, or?
I just finished up my master's, and then I knew I wanted to do this, so I started by applying for SWAT, Jacksonville SWAT team, and it's very, very challenging. That was hard. That's probably one of the hardest things that I ever had to accomplish to get on.
What is the process to go through that?
At the time that I went through, you had to show up first day and pass a physical agility portion of it,
Okay.
which was very, very difficult. And then you went to a 3-day observation class, or 3-day transfer, what we call it. And then they evaluate it for 3 more days to see if you can even hang out with us for 6 months. And then they would make a decision if you're on the team or not.
Wow.
So yeah, it's pretty rough process.
What was the process of staying with it? I'm sure it didn't get easier as you got into that.
The process of staying on is it really becomes a part of you. And I have my family at home, and I have this family too, of about 30 guys at the time, and they become family. And it was challenging to stay at times. Very, very active, very busy at that time. On my way out, it was said that I did like over 700 high-risk missions. So which I could probably tell you every one. I didn't realize that, but yeah.
700. I want to make sure people heard that. 700 high-risk missions.
SWAT call-outs, warrants, going after a really bad guy, things of that nature.
You've seen a lot of different leadership. This program is about leadership and motivation and living that intentional life. You've seen a lot of leadership and the different styles of it. What were some that you adopted yourself, and what were some that you stayed away? We heard Coach talk about I've seen some real good coaches, and I've seen some bad coaches.
Yeah.
Is the leadership in the law enforcement world?
Yes. I've seen some very good supervisors over time, and I've seen some that I did not want to mimic, or that I did not want to be that type of supervisor. And, we always tried to, as supervision goes, to be the best that they could do at the time. The supervision that I really gravitated towards, the individual that was able to communicate, both to the general public, to the training division, and to the officers themselves. And I found that even-handed levelness of being able to communicate well amongst each other will help you succeed daily within the occupation.
We Coach talk about the asking questions instead of giving direct orders type of thing in the football world. Yet in my experience with law enforcement is that's difficult for them to do.
Right.
What were some of the Dale Carnegie leadership principles that you were able to apply in your world?
Well, I was able to apply so many of those principles. And the principle of being able to allow someone to do what they need to do and then come back and articulate it back at the end. So we wanted to make sure that there's times where you can't ask, you got to direct. You got to say, hey, we need to move forward with this now. We need to move quickly. We need to set up. We need to move equipment, things of that nature. And at the time, really don't have an opportunity to say, hey, what do you think? When you can breathe, then you could do that, But, the Dale Carnegie principles become very important in the success in my law enforcement career.
That's good.
And my personal life, so.
The last couple of years, you spent 32 years in law enforcement. In the last 2-3 years were fairly unique, I'll put it that way, from our country's view of law enforcement. What were some of those challenges working back through that, and then during that time, applauding your children for getting involved in law enforcement at a young age?
Well, it's very unique. For the first time in my career, when there is a national issue or any type of concerns or issues going on, we are the first people there. So this is the first time that they said, hey, we're standing back and to see what's going to happen. You know, you work in an office right now, go home, we'll call you when we need you. I thought that was very strange, and it kind of like, so I woke up every morning dressed, waiting for them to call me, you know. So that was a unique position I was in. Not everybody got to do that, and so a little disappointed that I couldn't be a part of that, even though the risks that were involved there. So, and you know, my children, I have one daughter that was going through the academy, and the COVID situation was like all the time, getting somebody getting sick, and you know, and I was kind of concerned about that. But you know, both my children are in the occupation, and they're doing amazing.
Social media has brought your world to the forefront, where people can hide behind a social media post and be extremely critical. How did you deal with that, and how did the family deal with it behind the scenes? Because that's a huge part of motivation, leadership.
Yeah.
How did you deal with those things in your world?
Well, fortunately, even at Atlantic Beach, I started understanding the social media, the media itself and everything. And I informed my kids and my family because it will always come out correct. By the end of the situation, the truth will be known. And it usually does. And after people start poking at it and claiming this, claiming that, when the real investigations occur, when the real truth comes out, that's when we're able to say, Dad, you were right.
Yeah.
You know, even in the college when I'm teaching students as a professor in criminology, things were going on. There's a hot item every 6 months. It has to be. Somewhere there's going to be a hot item that shows up, and we work through. He goes, hey, you'll find out that, hey, at the end when this is all taken care of, it's not what you thought it was.
Difference in generations. During your career when you started, many of the people were, of course, much older than you, coming from the baby boomers generation, and even before that. And then as you went through as a leader at JSO, all of a sudden, millennials, Gen Xers, now Gen Z. What is that melting pot like, and what are some of the challenges that you're finding in law enforcement of bringing those people in or coaching them?
Yeah. So like when I first started, the older guy said we talk too much. We were too cocky, things of that nature. Now the new generation coming up, the millennials, we're finding out that they don't talk at all, and that we're really forcing them to communicate well. We have to start with each other, and then that's why we in the academy we have them come to attention when a supervisor comes by or another officer, so that officer can engage them. So that's one of the requests from the community law enforcement agencies. Hey, we got to get our guys to communicate better, and they can text great, they really can, but they have the same desires. They want to, and they're really coming along. A little bit of talking about it and coaching, they're able to do it. They're communicating well.
When we were younger, I mean, the leaders that we looked at were names like Patton or Eisenhower or Martin Luther King or a Kennedy. And nowadays, when you hear people, it's the financial world that are leaders, the Bezos and Elon Musk, those individuals. Does that play down into that younger generation? Are they more?
Yeah, it could. If you think about it, we don't talk about Patton anymore, or our generation, or the name Glenn Miller. They don't know who Glenn Miller is, but when I was growing up, everybody thought I was heir to the Glenn Miller throne, but not the case. So they have grown up into social media with these individuals. Yes, they have changed the world. They really have, and they're looked upon as the leaders.
Yeah, that's interesting to look at it from that standpoint. So getting to be the journey to earn your doctorate, how many years did that take?
It took 7 years from beginning to the end, 7 years.
So when we hear people say, I don't have time for that, or I just want to sit on the couch all day and, watch television, or, oh, I'm too tired from work, I work 7 hours, my goodness, I want to come home and just... What was that like to work as a law enforcement officer and then for 7 years to work on that doctorate?
Yes, and I didn't choose the easy route. I chose to go to UF. I made several trips a week to UF. It became a must.
Okay.
It really did that. Hey, I'm here. I got invited to be here, and I'm going to do a really good job while I'm here. And then I had that family support. Absolutely unattainable without Liz, my wife. So she took up the home stuff while I did this, and there was never no question about it.
I don't know what years those were, but what grades were your kids in while you were going through that?
The kids were in the 4th and 6th grade, going up to middle school. They went through elementary to middle school into high school a little bit.
While you were,
yeah.
So you kind of went through school together.
Yes. Yes,
was it 1 night a week, 2 night a weeks?
It was mostly 2 nights a week, sometimes 3 nights a week.
And how did you choose what you wanted to study and going in that direction?
Well, I have a passion for higher ed, and it came up, the degree program. Someone introduced it to me. He says, hey, this is something you may want to look into. This is right up your alley. And I love vocation and the community colleges. And my chair, Dr. Dale Campbell, was the guru of the community colleges and junior colleges, vocational education, everything that I loved. And that's how I went forward, and I could study that. I was able to look into it and pay attention to it and learn about it from the very beginning of the community colleges.
You and I both have a passion for the Dale Carnegie program.
Yeah.
We've spent a lot of time in it. I've been around it for now 30 years. And what spurred you to jump into that after all of this education, your bachelor's degree, your master's degree, your doctorate, and then jumping into a Dale Carnegie program?
Well, it was a time in my life. I was going through some of my mother's belongings in a shed behind her house, and there was this book called Stop Worrying, Start Living. And I just happened to crack it open. Sitting outside in the shed in the dark, I started reading it. I go, oh my goodness. And 5 chapters later, I went in and showing, look at this book. And this is where I learned about Dale Carnegie. I heard about it, but that book right there actually changed me, and that I wanted more of that, to figure out more about that. So my little book from 1960, I think it was, or 1959, I still have it. And
keep that.
I found the 2 other books. How to Win Friends and Influence People, and the speaking one, public speaking.
I still remember when Glenn and his wife Liz came to a workshop that I was doing a preview session, and the 2 of you came, and I don't know which one signed up first, but you didn't go through the program together. One came through, and then the other one came through. Right. Yet you were such an eager person to want to absorb that. Why do some individuals push that stuff away? Is it fear, or what do you say in your time around it?
You always have fear, even I do. And going into the class to take it, I kind of question it. But what happens is that, because they're unsure, because they don't know. It's a curiosity of the fear of trying to leap, saying, hey, I need to do this. And knowing that they probably would, it would change something for the better. That's a fear too. You know, people like, I'm not sure if I want to do this because I may become successful.
Yeah.
And I may be able to change my daily routine of life. And
I kind of like the status quo, and I kind of like.
Yeah, this is good.
I don't
Let's
have
not
to
change
step outside
up.
of my comfort zone or anything. I mean, we have a group of people here in the studio, and everybody in this room is a Dale Carnegie graduate,
Yes.
and everybody here is trying to get to the next level all the time, no matter where you are.
Right.
And you've spent many sessions as a graduate assistant now. I don't know how many I haven't kept track. I don't know if you have, but
Over 20, probably.
what is the spin on that as you come back and donate your time to other people and their journey through that program?
It's amazing. The main reason I come back is because of the students in the class. Because you get to watch the transformation of these individuals from being scared to death the very first day to run an entire speaking session like they've been doing it all their lives. The communication between everybody in the class, you become to know, you know these people more than you know the people at work. And I've seen people change from, in midstream, get promoted. The boss goes, oh my gosh, what's happened to this individual? This is amazing stuff. This is what happens in Dale Carnegie. It really changes how you deal with yourself at work and at home.
At home.
Yeah.
We always say that it's an application program. If you don't apply it, it doesn't do any good. It's the analogy I always use is taking sunscreen. If you leave it in your beach bag and don't put it on, you're going to burn.
Yeah.
And then the Carnegie program is the same way. Do you catch yourself many times saying, oh, principal, here I got to go in this direction?
Yeah.
Is there something that gets you more than?
There's two recognitions of that is when I figured it out, okay, hey, I don't want to go in that direction. I know Dale Carnegie principle number one. And then when, fortunately, my wife has been through and she can remind me as well.
Yeah.
So we kind of help each other going through remembering these principles. And where it really comes into play is when you hit that difficult situation, the difficult person to deal with, and you remember your Dale Carnegie, and you change that relationship, and you change that situation in a very positive way, that in the direction that we need it to go. And I find that to be remarkable, and I deal with difficult people at times, and we can
Very much,
absolutely change how that relationship we're going to have with that person by just applying and thinking about some of these Dale Carnegie principles.
Now, your daughter also is a graduate also
She
now,
is.
which is kind of interesting. How was that dynamic as she was going through the program with mom and dad already been through that?
I think she felt a little scared. I
Okay.
think she was very nervous about going into the program. But she's come through and she's used her Dale Carnegie principles at her work and with friends and all. So the individuals at work, she's able to develop a relationship, people that she's never met before.
Yeah.
And people go, how did you do that? And she goes, Dale Carnegie, So it's a great way of understanding people.
And really being able to break down some of those barriers to get in there. We should probably also share with people that we have classes coming up. We have one
Yes.
coming in Jacksonville that is starting the 26th of August.
26th of August.
And then we have one here in Gainesville that will be starting the 21st of September.
Right.
That one will be at Hotel Indigo, and World Financial Group will be hosting us, Bill Barnett, and his
excellent.
team
Great location.
in Jacksonville, which is a lot of fun. Share with us, just as we close up here, Glenn, advice of a 32-year law enforcement individual. What are some of the things that you could tell to corporate America that they can do better?
In law enforcement, we go through all the training. Nobody else does. And we go through all the training to become a certain officer, where the community can use us in the right direction and all. I think everybody needs some training, how we should respond to people and all. So this is where the Dale Carnegie comes in. It gives the corporations great training right off the bat that they can use the very next night. They go to Dale Carnegie on Monday, Tuesday morning, they're using it. And the communication is the one thing that we have to do better at. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you being here with us.
Thank you for letting me be here.
And next week we have another great program lined up. I'll be sharing that on my Facebook page during the week to tell you who's going to be there. For our producer, Evan Miller, my name is Bob Ganzak. We want to thank Coach Spurrier, Dr. Glenn Miller for being here with us. It's MotivationU the Podcast. Thank you.